Welcome back to Baby TV. Most definitely, I hope you enjoyed that package with Anthony Killer talking about President Bola Tinubu 2 years so far. My name is Onyeka Valentine, and today, like you know, we've been doing this thing like back to back. But we're on the big story segment and on the social economic implication of the proposed petroleum tax, we'll be talking about a lot regarding that. So, in a quest to ensure funds availability for regular maintenance of federal roads, the Nigerian government has proposed the National Roads Bill. A clause in the bill imposes a 5 naira levy on every litre of petrol and diesel purchased, whether domestic or imported. To fund a new National Road Fund, most definitely, all that will be put to the discussion this morning. And of course, 5% petrol tax is proposed to be fixed as the levy aimed at funding federal roads and bolstering fiscal capacity. Now, while this aligns with President Bola Tinubu's mission of expanding revenue and reducing subsidies, the proposal has, however, drawn backlash due to its potential cost of living impacts and how transparently the funds will be used. I'm not alone. So to discuss this implication of the proposed petrol tax, we have Mr. Dipo in the building. Dipo, I hope I was able to give you an insight to what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, of course.
But before I go ahead, I know you're not a Muslim, but have you had a show this morning, in the Salah celebration?
So not yet.
Right.
I was hoping when I go to the studio this morning, I will see harvest of meat around.
I will hold my producer to that. Why we don't have our table flourished with a lot of chop, right?
No, I'm ever here ready.
After the chop comes the talk about the 5 naira levy. Do you think this is a great move? And if so, why?
So let's give a background of what the government is trying to do. So the government is trying to impose what we call a road user tax.
Right.
What the government is trying to do is the government is estimating that they need about 800 million naira on a yearly basis to maintain all the federal roads scattered across the geopolitical zones in Nigeria.
Right.
And so we are looking at close to about 100 to 150 federal roads. And the government is estimating that certain amount of money are needed to maintain this road on an annual, to effectively maintain this road on an annual basis. So they are proposing, so this tax is already in law already. It's just about implementing it. And so the government is saying, so why don't we implement this 5% tax, road user tax on via petrol, so that we can get this amount of money to maintain all of the federal roads. Now, let's not forget that petrol prices have been dropping thanks to Dangote refinery. And then if you compare the prices of petrol in Nigeria compared to all our neighboring countries, you'll see that petrol in Nigeria is still the cheapest because, first of all, we have a refinery up and running. And if you look at the economics of scale and the absence of this tax as well, those are one of the reasons why the petrol is cheaper in Nigeria. So what this would definitely do in terms of pricing is prices will definitely we'll see slight or marginal increase in price. And so what that would definitely do across the value chain of whoever is utilizing petrol or using petrol to provide any of the services he or she is rendering, they'll definitely up the prices of such goods and services. So what we are expecting is, and looking at the current inflation, so a lot of Nigerians are already struggling with high cost of living, high food prices, although some would argue that prices are going down. Some would argue that it's not general. There are still some goods that are still relatively high, coming from the Salah holiday where the prices of ram have skyrocketed about.
The prices of ram. I will hold our thoughts with you. Okay. In case you guys don't know, yes, Mr. Dipo is our in-house economic analyst. He does this thing like, flip up a finger and everything comes up. Let's do a quick break. When we come back, we'll be diving deep more into today's topic, talking about the 5 naira levy. Will that add value, or will the money be missing somewhere? Don't go away. We'll be right back. Baby TV. Welcome back. Of course, who are we without our CEO forums and our great leadership converge? Yes, before we took that break, we were talking about the 5 naira levy cut out from petroleum to help get our roads in great shape. And of course, I'm still joined with no other but Dipo, who is our in-house analyst when it comes to the economy, and of course, financial issues and how to make it happen. Dipo, before we took that break, you were on something very key. You still remember your stream of thoughts?
Yeah, sure,
Let's go ahead,
sure.
let's go ahead.
Okay, so I was talking about this latest Salah celebration,
Right.
and they talked about the fact that a lot of prices were up, and a lot of people would want to get one or two things to celebrate with their loved ones. We were complaining about, oh, prices of RAM increased by 50, 60, some were even seeing up to 150% increases.
Did you see our documentary on the RAM?
Yes, I saw you.
Okay.
I saw you when you were trying to.
Right.
I saw you when you were trying to. Where you were asking.
They didn't give me free RAM.
Of course, because the prices are
Right.
not smiling really.
Right.
And when you look at a lot of things that contribute to that cost component of providing any goods and services in Nigeria, either you are selling RAM,
Right.
you are selling a business, or you are doing one or two things. One major cost line item is the cost of transportation, or what we call energy cost. And so if there is any slight or marginal increase in these energy costs, you will see a multiplier effect in the prices of goods and services, irrespective of how static the prices must have been in previous time. Anytime there is a marginal increase in the prices of petrol, so let me give a very vivid example. If the prices of petrol move slightly by 10, 15 naira, the prices of things you would get on the streets would also, you'd see a slight or marginal increase. Why? Because again, the RAM seller will tell you transportation cost. It cost me 10,000 naira petrol to move last night. This morning it increased by 15,000 naira, 20,000 naira, as the case may be.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say in essence is a slight increase in the price of petrol would definitely have a multiplier effect on the prices of goods and services in the market, which would have a longer term effect on the cost of living in Nigeria.
So, I mean, on the cost of living in Nigeria and the 5 naira levy, who do you think it will affect the most? Is it the marketers? Is it the average Nigerian who simply just drives to the filling station and buys fuel on the vehicle? Or will it affect the, those who produce, well, I wouldn't say the production line, but whichever it is, 5 naira has been taken out. Does that mean that maybe the fuel cost should not be 800 and something, it should be 700? They just added one on top of it so that they can make more money from that. So where is the money going to come from?
Okay,
to fund this thing? Because I mean, the federal roads need to be fixed, right? And so we're looking at that area as a major source of funds. Now I'm twisting all the questions so that it gives you that holistic answer, not one after the other, but rather all together.
Okay, so this is it. There are, when you look at the cost of refining petrol in Nigeria, there's a cost component to it. There are breakdown. There are so many things that are underlined before arriving at that 870 naira or 890 naira, depending on the geopolitical zone in Nigeria. So there's a lot of cost components to it. There is the NMDPRA tax, more of the regulatory tax. There is the so I mean, I don't quite have everything at the top of my head, but the point I'm trying to make is about 6 or 7 or 8 cost line item contribute to you arriving at that 870 naira price of petrol. So with this new tax, this proposed 5% tax they are trying to introduce, this will be added to the cost line item, and then what we are projecting is, so petrol prices should be nearing maybe slightly closer to 900 or slightly a little bit above 900. But this is the thing about Nigeria. So you've seen petrol prices move at different points in time. Let's not forget that the biggest challenge facing petrol price, or the biggest volatility affecting the price of petrol, is the price of crude oil in the international market. So in as much as crude oil prices are moving on a constant basis, we would always see the effect in petrol prices.
Because I'm seeing it here in the papers also.
Yeah, so petrol prices are not meant to be static. They are meant to move in line with first of all, they move in line with international crude oil market. They move in line with the exchange rate of your country, and then they move in line with certain things like taxes that are meant to be introduced. So this is it. Is road user tax the best way to raise funds to manage federal roads? I mean, I don't know about that. Again, a lot of people have always argued that some of the biggest challenge facing issues about taxes. I mean, we are currently trying to carry out a major reform in our tax laws headed by the Presidential Tax Committee, or led by Taiwo Edele. A lot of people have always argued that increasing the tax is not our challenge. What we need to do is increase the tax net.
Right.
A lot of people are already overtaxed already. I mean, in as much when you get to recharge your phone, you're paying a tax. When you operate a bank account, you're paying a tax. When you try to renew all your car papers, you're paying certain taxes at different points in time. So some people would argue that, look, a lot of Nigerians are overtaxed already. Why don't you increase the tax net? Are there some people who are not in the tax net that you need to bring into the tax net?
Which brings my next question. Do you see this driving issues for consumers?
Well, again, of course it's a big deal. Why? Because you're talking about the price of petrol. Petrol is a very essential commodity in terms of moving around in a place like Nigeria. So there is nothing a consumer is trying to, if you look at all the classes of consumers in Nigeria, irrespective of how you try to carry out your services, either you are doing a retail services, you are doing wholesale services, you are mostly affected by the increase in price of petrol. So definitely consumers will be affected, retailers will be affected, would manufacturers be affected, again, depending on the energy or how these manufacturers generate their energy. If you are running on diesel is even much more expensive compared to the price of petrol. So the point you are trying to make is it timely now? Well, that's debatable, because let's not forget inflation is still around. Yes, in some instances, some will say it's going down. In some instances, some will say, no, we can't feel the effect. So a lot of Nigerians are struggling with high exchange rates, high inflation. You just removed the subsidy less than 2 or 3 years ago.
High inflation.
Yeah. So you just removed the subsidy. So again, it's about recognizing you feel the room.
Right.
Is this the best time to introduce this? Are there other ways of raising revenues apart from this? So all of that conversations need to be put on the table. And then if you've explored all of that, and if you need to put this 5% tax, you need to create enough awareness. And the thing about taxes in Nigeria is not just about asking people to pay more tax. How will Nigerians follow the money to make sure that this money is judiciously used to carry out it?
Used. Do you think it will, one way or the other, be fair on Nigerians?
Again, Nigerians we are known to be resilient, right? We've gone through a series of, a lot of people would never, I mean, at some point we all felt the country will collapse when you remove subsidies.
But to be fair, don't you think, again, that our economy almost, if not tanked?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, there were immediately the subsidy.
And if that's the case, sorry to call that, if that's the case, this extra 5 naira, is it going to be subtracted from what we're already paying, or will it be added to it?
I think it's going to be added to what we are paying already. So
it makes it even more difficult.
So you're going to be paying more, definitely. But this is it. So you've removed the electricity subsidy, you've removed petrol subsidy, or you've removed electricity subsidy for certain categories of electricity customers. You are removing petrol subsidy, right. FX subsidies have been removed. Now you're talking about introducing taxes. So I mean, it's going to be a tough one for most Nigerians, definitely, because again, petrol prices will moving slightly to the 900 region. Let's not forget that at some point petrol was above 1,000 naira, and now we are seeing, thanks to the economics of scale of the Dangote refinery, we are seeing prices slow down, and our prices are moderating around the 870, 860 region. So what a lot of Nigerians...
For some states, of course. Some states that are further off
of course.
Point of pickup is, there's added cash to it.
There's added cash
and again, if you remember, there's an issue of some, give and take, artificial scarcity, which will make the cost of fuel in those states a bit higher. So how do we juggle these things?
Again, petrol prices.
Having in mind that 5 naira is going somewhere.
It's going somewhere. So petrol prices are, I mean, if you look at the global markets, petrol prices would always move. The most important thing is to make sure that they are market reflective, that people can pay these prices, and these prices there is no any form of subsidy that is entrenched in getting these market prices. So the most important thing is to find out If these taxes are going to be introduced, how effective will these taxes be utilized? That's one. That's the biggest question. And then there's also another question on how to make sure that you can properly account for these taxes, and then how to make sure that these prices of petrol are not beyond reach for certain categories of people who are assumed to be the most vulnerable in the society. So let's not forget, sorry to cut you, let's not forget that the NBS said about 122 million Nigerians are living in multi-dimensional poverty already. So
do you agree with that statistics?
I mean,
the indices are kind of shaky.
Well, if you look at it on a daily basis, I don't know about you, but I talk about myself. There's hardly a week where somebody is not asking me for
some prayer requests.
Some for some
prayer requests or something.
For some amount of money at different points in time. There's hardly a week, or even sometimes a day. So you are as a Nigerian, you are constantly surrounded by people who are in need of certain amount of money just to feed on a daily basis. So yes, some will argue the number is debatable. Some would even argue that it's more than that. But the most important thing is poverty is around and we can see it.
Poverty is around and we can see. On that note, before I call a break and leave, I have one more question which is burning on my mind. I hope maybe you have some good answers with it. Is this: the transport sector is a big deal. Now, if 5 naira, remember, you just spoke about the poverty line is becoming more thinner and thinner. And so, if a woman who does buying and selling has to move from Makoko to Mile 2 market to display her goods, and the cost of transportation a week ago was manageable, and all of a sudden it hikes thanks to this extra 5 naira, do you think transporters or those who are in transport business will want to even subsidize their own? They will add more transport to it. How does that even affect the normal trader?
Of course.
And it boils down to the cost of fish, cost of other things that you and I will have to go and buy and eat.
Of course. And then beyond even the typical 9 to 5 worker in Nigeria.
So the transporters are the ones we are focusing on.
Yeah. So the transporters will definitely hike their prices of moving from one place to another location. Most definitely. So the market woman who is trying to move orange from point A to point B will be paying more. Anyone working in 9 to 5, whatever salary you are earning,
like you and I,
transport cost is going to be eating a larger chunk of that salary.
Why
so
just jog to work?
Can we jog on Third Mainland Bridge?
You never can tell. You say we are resilient, right? Remember you said it. I'm taking your word.
Well. Again, yes, but we have limits, and all humans. I think we do.
You know, they say Nigerians are the most hardworking people found around the world.
Well, because the thing about most Nigerians is when you push them to the wall, they innovate.
Right.
They think outside the box. They try to walk around it. But then, the thing about humans is sometimes you would expect that governments around the world are trying to make the life of their citizens.
But government can't do everything for everybody.
Nobody is asking the government to do everything.
But they're doing like they say 5 naira.
The basic expectation from government is, why don't you fix the barest minimum, fix the roads, put right schools in place, have
power
supply, efficient health services, power supply, like you mentioned. Those are the most basic things. And you think about Nigerians, sometimes they don't demand so much. It's easier to please them. So imagine if there is efficient road network. I mean, traffic in Lagos can be crazy. If you look at a large chunk of what contributes to that traffic, some of them are 50 or 40% might be attributed to poor road or bad road network. And so all of these things is what the government needs to do, and that's what the citizens are expecting.
And so that's what the citizens are expecting. If I leave you, we'll continue this conversation. I know you are engaging, and most definitely,
thank you.
I'll most definitely say having you on a part 2 will make a lot of sense. Dipo, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
It's a big story, but it can be bigger if you continue being consistent with us.
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, it has been wonderful, most definitely. BD TV show stretches longer than you know. I mean, when we started, we took, the news cap, we also did paper review, and we did the big story which you just watched. I didn't do it alone. I did with Dipo himself, one of our great in-house analysts for the Business Day. Don't go away. We'll be right back. This is the Business Day. As you know, we are the TV. Monica Valentine is my name. Thank you so much.